From what I've heard you say, from your experience with these courts, it appears that you had a good attorney anyway. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a good attorney, and that's a good beginning, because a lot of times the attorneys are not so good either. Yeah. I hate to say that. I mean, I wish I didn't have to say that, but that's been the reality that I've seen. So, but from your experience, you've witnessed perjury in the courts that the judges do nothing about.
Right.
You've seen the judges make rulings that baffle everybody when they take a person who may be an alcohol addict, a drug addict, may have weapons loaded the children can get to, may be an abusive relationship, so much so that the children are afraid to leave a room, that a judge will take a children that are already established in a lifestyle and will rip them away from that, and put them with somebody who said, I can't handle these kids, would you please take them?
Mm-hmm.
Something
over and over again.
Over and over again. But make sure you pay your child support.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you don't do these things, I may take these 2 children and put them with 2 other parents.
Just give my kids away.
Give the kids away. This is absolutely incredible. When I watched your video the other day, you had some text messages on there. You were talking about some text messages that you had received. And I was wondering if you would mind sharing them, maybe reading them, telling us how you felt, how the children felt during that whole time.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Well, my daughter, she texted me pretty much asking me for help. Her mom was high while driving again, and she was afraid for her life. And I had my sons already, and so she was bringing my daughter to me. And so I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
She said, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, Des, I'm driving to come get you." Smiley face. She said, "You mean to meet Mom?" I said, "Oh, you not with her?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Dad, don't tell Mom I told you this, okay?" And I said, "Okay." She keeps falling asleep and saying she's not, but she is. I said, "While driving?" And she said, "Yes." And I sent her like some, oh my God, scared emojis. And she said, please don't tell her I told you. She is driving and talking weird. I told her I have to say something, babe. I don't want you to get hurt. And she said, no, please wait until we get there. I said, keep talking to her. She said, okay. I said, if she falls asleep, y'all won't make it to me. Y'all will crash. She said, I know. She said, I asked her if we were almost there. She said, where? I had to remind her. I said, I have to call her right now, babe. I said, I'm sorry. Thanks for saying something. If something happened to you guys, I'd never forgive myself. She said, just don't tell her that I said that. Just talk about something different, like Jackson. I said, okay, I will. And then I proceeded to call her mom. And I heard the slurring for myself. Mm-hmm. And she told me that my daughter was exaggerating. And I asked her to pull over. She refused. Mm-hmm. And so I said, can you just please stay on the phone with me until you get here? Mm-hmm. And so she talked in circles for about 40 minutes. So I know she was impaired. Mm-hmm. She just rambled and just kept talking, and I didn't even get a word in. I just said, yep, okay. Mm-hmm. How far are you? Right? She just kept going until until she pulled into the gas station where we were meeting. Mind you, we have to drive an hour apiece to meet in the middle. Right. And so it was a very long drive for her, which was nerve-wracking. Some people say, why didn't you call the police? And I'm like, I didn't want to get off the phone with her. Right. So terrible situation. I sat with her for another 40 minutes just to kind of make sure she was kind of coming off of it, and because before she went back. I told my daughter to get in the car, and then we went and got some snacks, and just because I don't want, she's the mother of my kids. I didn't want her harm herself either. Right. So I called her dad, let him know to be looking out for her. Told her she seemed a little bit better when she left. Yeah. And so and that was right before I was getting my kids for the summer, so they wasn't gonna see her for another 3 months. So I was like, I have my kids in there, and she's 2 hours away. Yeah. And so I was fine with that incident, but I wasn't fine with that incident. Scariest thing in life, because she had already had a wreck, high on prescription medicines, with my daughter in the car before on the way to go pick up my sons from daycare. Yeah. Wow. So was the judge familiar with this whole thing? Did you tell? Yes. So you actually took this to the judge as well? The whole thing. Read the text messages. The text messages from my daughter were entered into evidence. and he got to read them out loud. Had her read the text messages out loud in court, back to the whole court.
And the judge still took the kids away.
Still took the kids from me.
Jeff Addison. That is incredible that would happen. Wow. I can only imagine the terror that your daughter was feeling.
Man, I'm telling you, she was scared for her life.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and then the dialogue that I have to have with my daughter on the way home.
Yeah.
You know, is just, you know, because you don't want to bash her mom.
Right.
You know, so it's a tricky situation all the way around.
Yeah, it is very difficult to do that. Anyway, I'm so sorry again about these things that you've mentioned, and it really illustrates how bad some of our judges really are when they allow children to go with people that are unsafe and that have a demonstrated history of driving intoxicated or while under drugs or whatever it may be. It doesn't make any sense to me that Judge Jeff Addison did what he did. But from what I've heard you say, I mean, he needs to be reviewed.
Absolutely.
It just makes no sense whatsoever to me. Anyway, anything else you'd like to talk about or add?
So this is while the kids were actually living with her.
Okay.
She calls me on a Wednesday. Mind you, the kids are in school. She says, "Can you come get the kids today?" And I said, "No, it's Wednesday. I'll be there on Friday like I always am on Friday."
Yeah.
She says, "Okay," and she hangs up in my face.
Yeah.
So I text her and I said, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Yeah, everything's fine. I just got a YOLO moment."
What's a YOLO moment?
You only live once.
Oh, okay.
You only live once moment, right?
Okay.
And so,
maybe I should have known that. I've seen YOLO, but I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah. But so, you know, and I explained to her, you know, through text, which was also submitted into the court. I said, you don't get YOLO moments in the middle of the week. You have 3 children.
Yeah.
And so she proceeded to, you know, tell me to screw off.
Polite terms, right?
Yeah, polite terms. And so I go down there on Friday. You know, we text and we go back and forth, and I'm just like, you know, maybe she'll come to her senses and just put off whatever she's going to do to the weekend.
Yeah.
Because she has every weekend free at this moment. She's, you know, I was getting them every weekend.
Yeah.
And so I drive all the way down there, 2 hours, pick up my kids, and I asked my daughter, I was like, I said, "How's the week been?" And she's like, "Well, we haven't seen Mom since Wednesday." And then I go back in my mind to the conversation, the YOLO moment.
Yeah.
And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, she dropped us off at Aunt Mallory's house, and just we haven't seen her since."
Wow.
So dropped her off at her aunt's house, and she hadn't seen her since.
Wow.
And so I didn't find out where she actually went till a couple of weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually drove to Florida from a guy she met on the internet. He told her,
abandon the children.
Abandon the children. Just ditch my children. Middle of the week on a Wednesday, and drove to Florida to meet a guy she met on the internet that told her if she drove to him, he'd pay for her hotel and her rental car.
Did this also get admitted to the judge?
It also got admitted to the judge.
Judge Jeff Addison. I cannot believe, after hearing the stuff that you're telling me, and I'm sure the transcripts will completely confirm how he could make the decision that he did. Judge Jeff Addison of the 102nd District Court.
Yeah.
He needs to be removed.
It's crazy.
I'm sorry, but you know what? In my opinion, he needs to be removed. Why we need to have cameras and audios in the courtroom. I mean, really, this is a case of negligence by our officials.
Absolutely.
Representatives, senators, governor, attorney general, all these people. This is the case of outright negligence. Because the reality is this: they have heard these stories again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
They have heard them. They are without excuse. I'm sorry, no matter who they are, they have heard similar to your story, if not worse.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, I have no doubt. So this is another one of these, the buck does not stop with me, it stops with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, our legislature has the responsibility to impeach judges. Right now, what we do, we send them to this thing called the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, and that is such a horrid organization. It doesn't do much of anything. At least when I filed with them, they were terrible. They don't do a thing. They will almost always justify a judge's behavior, unless it's for some political reason. They might find something that they can come up with. But it is a feckless, spineless, cowardly organization that gives the appearance that we care about judicial conduct. And what it has also enabled is the legislators to not take their responsibility to oversee the judges. It stinks to high heaven. And once again, every single legislator in the state of Texas, they are familiar with what you're talking about. And they're refusing to do something. They are without excuse as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm glad that your story is out there, because we need to keep bringing these stories out. And if you're watching, what you need to be doing is contacting your legislator, contacting your senator, contact the governor, contact the attorney general. Go and sit in these courts and see how bad these things are. When I first experienced it, there's the shock and everything else. Somehow you feel like you're the problem, like what did I do or whatever. And then if you recover from that and you start to say, wait a minute, something is wrong here, you see that it happens again and again and again. And I think that if we keep silent about it, we are sinning against what could be our son or daughter in the future.
Right.
What could be a friend or a coworker in the future, or maybe even against another person that we might be that's going through it right now. Churches should be speaking up about this. Individual citizens should be speaking up about this. We should be talking about this at our political gatherings, town halls. Every legislator should be informed about what goes on in these courts. In the state of Texas, we actually have in Article 1, Section 13, I believe it is, it talks about the courts shall remain open. The court shall be open. The public has a responsibility, a duty, an obligation to go sit in these courts and to see what's going on. And they have the duty to report these judges if these judges are not acting right. What we do instead is we say, oh, the judges, we need to worship the judges. The judges are getting it right. No. The judges need to be held accountable. And Judge Jeff Addison is one of those ones that needs to be held accountable. So if you live in Bowie County and if you are near the 102nd District Court, I'm going to invite you and ask you to go into the courtroom where Judge Jeff Addison is presiding. In fact, it does not just have to even be in Bowie County. It can be anywhere in the state of Texas. Go in and sit in these courtrooms. See what takes place. Maybe you'll have a good day and everything will be fine. But for the most part, you'll probably come across and you'll be shaking your head and be aghast at the injustices that take place on a daily basis. And if you say nothing now, it may be your children or your grandchildren that it will happen to in the future. Anyway, thanks again.
Absolutely.
So a lot of us are starting to speak up about this. I want to just thank you for the time that you gave me here. I hope that more awareness is raised. I really feel sorry for the whole situation that you're going through. I mean, it would be so much better if everybody could resolve it. Because, again, I mean, you look at what happens in these courts, and these courts look at it as a battle between the parents, but they don't look at it as what do the children want to be in relationship with both parents. The children also have very important things at stake, and it's just horrendous to see what takes place in these courts. Anyway, thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate you.
Well, I hope that we can do something with this. Yeah. Anyway, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.